Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchison.
Hey, folks. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host and executive producer, Bruce Hutchison. And we're traveling out to Kentucky today. We're meeting up with Bo Hutchison. No, it's not Hutchin or Hutchinson. It's Hutchison. Hutchison. And so, Bo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you having me.
Well, and Bo has on his team, we're going to talk about humble bow hunter coming up, Casey and Hope Hutchison also, and they're not related. So a lot of people, I asked Bill about that in the warm-up, but they're not related. But Bo, you got something going on with Humble Bow Hunter. So let's just start the show off right there and tell people what you're doing, what your vision is, and where the thing's going.
Well, it's a long story. So we had talked, you and I, off the air about how I got into hunting. So my father was a single parent. My mother passed away when I was a child. So if he wanted to hunt or fish, he took my sister and I with him. So we just got ingrained in the lifestyle because it was something that he was interested in. And then over time, as I got older, I spent more time alone in the woods by myself. And so in 2005, I was already exclusively a bow hunter, and I booked a trip for my best friend and my father. We were going on a feral hog hunt. And everybody said the same thing. Oh, you've got to make sure you make a really great shot on those. You got to shoot high poundage. They're vicious, right? I'm sure you've heard all that. So I had a Matthews switchback at the time, 70 pounds. And I bought a 3D hog target from a local sporting goods store. And I spent every night just pounding that thing from every different angle I could think of. I want to make sure I make a quick, ethical shot. I don't want to get eaten by a pig. The night before the trip, out in the yard, just like every other night before it for probably 2 months, I drew back, got almost a full draw, and something popped in my left shoulder.
Ow.
Yep. I didn't tell anybody. I gathered my equipment, packed all my gear. I'd paid for the hunt. I'm going on the hunt. We pack up that night. We drive through the night, get to where we're hunting the next day, check into the hotel. I'm the youngest of the three, so 2 queen beds. I get the cot. I don't sleep because my shoulder is absolutely throbbing. I'm up absolutely all night. So next morning we load up before daylight, get to the woods. The guide put me in a ground blind where I was hunting with a bow. And about 8 o'clock, I finally got good and warm, and my shoulder was resting in the chair, and it stopped hurting. For like a day and a half, I hadn't slept. It got good and warm, and I nodded off. So I wake up, sweat pouring off of me, look at my watch. It's 10 a.m. I've slept 2 hours. I've missed all the good hunting. So I'm kind of kicking rocks in the ground blind and aggravated at myself. No sooner than I looked up, it sounded like a semi-truck coming through the woods. Big group of hogs comes running right out. Spotted hog stops 30 yards broadside to me. Bruce, I don't remember pulling the bow back. Just pure adrenaline took over. But I made that shot with a torn rotator cuff. Got my hog. Everybody else got one. Came home. I put my bow in the garage, back in its case, and I didn't touch it again until February 1st of 2016. So 2005 to 2016, I didn't touch a bow. I didn't go hunting. Focused on my career and family. And
Did you get your shoulder repaired?
No, just I don't go to the doctor. I let it heal. It still pops and cracks, and it's a nightmare. From 2005 to 2016, I'd gotten very complacent and gotten a little hard on myself, maybe even a little depressed. And I'd gained about 100 pounds from where I was in 2005.
How big a guy are you normally?
Right now, I like to walk around at 6'3". I like to be between 185 and 190. I'm not a very big guy, but I like to stay lean. So I'd gotten to be a pretty substantial boy. And actually, I was listening to a podcast the last day of January in 2016, And one of the guys that was on the podcast was Cameron Haynes. I'm sure you're familiar with Cam.
Yeah, I just met him at ATA 2019.
Super good guy.
Super dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. And on this podcast, he was talking about his fitness routine, lift, run, shoot. And I went home that night. I was thinking, I used to really love shooting my bow. I lived for it. I mean, my middle name is Bowen, Bowen, which is Celtic for the archer. So it's sort of in my blood at this point.
Uh-huh.
I got my first Fredbear Panda when I was 4. I've been around archery for a long time. So I got to thinking about Cam's idea. I thought, maybe I should get in shape. Yeah, I want to get back into bow hunting. I'm going to deer hunt this fall. So I made a goal that by September, I wanted to lose 70 pounds. I wanted to get proficient with a bow again. And I went at it, Bruce, really hardcore. I lost that 70 pounds I was after in 114 days.
Wow, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, too quick. It wasn't healthy. I ended up doing a 40-day juice fast. I didn't eat solid food for 40 days. Yeah, not the brightest thing I've ever done in my life.
That's intense on your body.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, my vision went bad. My hair really, really thinned. It was not a good plan. But I made the goal weight that I wanted and felt good that I could walk around. And through the exercise, it got me out of that depression. And I think archery and the workouts really helped with mental health on that. It gave me something else to focus on instead of the sky is falling. So that really changed a lot for me.
And you're not the first person that I've talked to on the show. As people, we talked to them in the warm-up about who've been through some stuff. Why do you think hunting, and specifically archery hunting, helps to get out some of the dark spots you end up with in our lives? Why do you think that happens?
I still find this every day because I shoot every single solitary day. From when I picked my bow back up on February 1st of 2016, I've missed 18 days where I haven't shot a bow. That's just because I was in a place where I couldn't.
Yeah, you get an archery range in your basement, right?
Yeah, I built a full range in my basement, and I have a 3D range in the backyard. I'm addicted, Bruce.
How big's your range in the basement? 20
yards. So I think for me, the moment that arrow releases, you're not thinking about anything else. You're really not even thinking about the shot. Just for that brief moment, your mind goes completely blank. You're at full draw, you're relaxed, and you just work the shot. And for me, when I felt a really good shot, my mind was calm. There's no chaos. There's no darkness. It's just quiet. And so for me, okay, I like this feeling. I can repeat this feeling by shooting another arrow. And then obviously, as I've built up stamina and proficiency, okay, yeah, now I need to get back into the woods. And just being able to be outside and watch the world wake up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, it's one of the most amazing things you can see.
Replication, because when I was shooting a compound, I don't shoot a compound anymore. I have 2 pins in my right shoulder, so that's not going to happen. Yeah, could I shoot a 30-pound bow? Probably, but I don't want to. I'd have to restrict myself to 20 yards, traditional bow, and traditional bow doesn't let up. The doctor doesn't recommend it, so sure. I shoot a crossbow though. And I moved out to Colorado in 85, and so I had a 20-yard range in my backyard. And every day I would work when I was home, every hour I would just go out, shoot one arrow. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I would shut my eyes. I get to my point, I get to my anchor position, shut my eyes and release the arrow. That's where I got to. And people would watch me and it's just all muscle memory. It's not hard to do, folks. It really isn't. But you need to do it for hundreds of arrows. But exactly. Once you do that, and I shoot fingers, I don't shoot a release. Or I shot fingers. So what I'm trying to get at, folks, it's all into that Zen in the mind, and you can read books and listen to YouTube, but you get to the place that some guys call it the zone, but you're just there where everything else is gone. It's just like when I take a shot, even now, everything else stops. And it's just me focusing on pulling that trigger. And, I have a red dot on my crossbow. So keeping the red dot where it needs to be, taking a breath and letting go. And I shoot my rifle the same way. I shut my eyes, take a deep breath, let half it out, get my heart rate where I want, open my eyes, and pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's pure peace. It's not even peace. It can't even say that because nothing else really exists. I don't know if I'm articulating effectively, but folks, no matter where you are, if you can get to that place, it'll help you in so many areas of your life. What are your thoughts on that, Bo?
Absolutely. And you're right. I say a moment of peace or zen when that shot breaks, but really it's just nothingness. It's the ability to shut all the thoughts, be focused on the moment, and just live for just a second. Just pure,
Yeah, it's a heartbeat.
quiet.
Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think no matter what you do, if you find a hobby, if it's rifle hunting or target practice, if you can get yourself to a point where you can enjoy that moment and you crave more of it, it almost becomes an addiction. Well, I guess you could say with me, archery has become an addiction.
Well, yeah. With a range in your house and you've been shooting straight for a number of years and you got yourself into a good place as opposed to a place that was dark.
Oh, absolutely. My mental health, thanks to archery, is totally different. I am a much happier human being because of that. And that's sort of what got the idea of Humble Bow Hunter started. So I started documenting my weight loss journey just as something more for me via Instagram. One of my friends said, "Hey, you're losing weight pretty quick. You should take progress pictures." So I did. That's how it started. And as I would write about my workout or what I did or the progress I'd made, they started to get a little bit longer. I started to get more people following and more messages like, "Hey, maybe you should write a little longer for them." So the idea of writing a blog had been in my mind for a while. And I actually have a journal that I take with me to the woods. So if I'm sitting there and it's quiet, I can actually write when I'm out. So I'd always liked the idea of writing as a method of therapy, I guess. So I started writing a little bit, started a blog on my personal website, bohutchison.com. And really the purpose I wanted to do with this is I wanted to show people we can talk about hunting and it not be about the score. It's not about who killed the biggest deer or who has the best equipment. It's about actually enjoying the sport of hunting because you talk to enough people in the industry. Not only do we get hate from anti-hunters, there's a lot of hatred and jealousy in the hunting community as a whole.
Well, yeah, we're not our best friend.
Exactly. Rifle hunters, they talk bad about bow hunters. Even in archery, traditional bow hunting, there's guys that you're using a compound. You're not doing it right.
Heck, I'm using a crossbow.
Right.
Where's that put me?
Right. You're getting bashed from rifle hunters and from bow hunters. That was my idea that I don't care if you kill a spike. If that deer is a trophy to you, if you eat the meat, you make an ethical harvest. If you're happy with it, I'm happy with it because you're outside, you're enjoying this environment that I love so much, that I strive to be in every single solitary day.
Yeah. I'll just echo that one of my first guests was Brenda Valentine. She was a friend of Judd Cooney's, and I knew Judd, hunted at Judd's farm and blah, blah, blah. So she got on the show, and one of the things she said, "Bruce, it doesn't matter where you hunt, how much your hunt cost, didn't cost. It said, if you're out hunting and you take a game ethically, legally, then be proud of it. It's your hunt. It's nobody else's hunt. And you don't have to say, oh, gee, it's not the biggest. It is that. You pulled the trigger, you harvested it. So be darn well proud of what you've done because a lot of people will never hunt, will never harvest their own meat."
Right.
I've got a couple of trophies on the wall and they're special trophies to me. And they always will be. All the things that I've shot on the wall, most of them when I moved into my condo, I had to sell because I didn't have the room. I sold them all off and I kept some that are definitely special to me, but I didn't mount that many games. I had some European mounts, but the biggest thing about hunting to me and why I hunt and looking back over the years I've been hunting is simply the memories and the people I meet. And now, so I've extended that into the podcast. I've met over 600 people that I wouldn't have known prior to this who are just like you, Bo, are hunters and are interested in helping other people and expanding the hunting community. What a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. And that's what our hunting community needs to be. It needs to be people that have an outreach to introduce people, women, children, even men, into this lifestyle, just to show how great it really can be and what it can do for you mentally, physically, the whole deal.
Yeah, the skills. And I have a co-host, Meryl Caulfield, and she talks about adult onset hunting. That's going to be in my book. And of course, I might as well announce it now because it is coming soon. Deer Hunting Institute is going to be the name of it. And I already own the URL for that. So just don't go out and steal it. And I have the Gmail account. So you can't get that either. And my logo will be trademarked soon. So
Perfect.
So it is coming. But saying all that, Metal talks about that, and she talks about the 3 R's: recruitment, retention, and reactivation. There's a lot of DNR organizations throughout the country that are looking at the 3 R's and how can they do it better, because everybody realizes that hunting numbers are declining, hunting age is growing higher, and it's guys like you that I look for to help promote what you're doing, because that'll in itself help promote hunting.
Right. That's sort of the idea behind Humble Bow Hunter. So when I started my personal blog, there were sort of 3 things that I inspired to in life, and they're on my logo: be happy, be humble, and bow hunt. I want to make an impression on at least one person every single solitary day that makes their day better. I remember reading a quote years ago that said, go a day without complaining and see how it changes the world. And that stuck with me. And I'm a pretty happy guy, Bruce. Like, life has been really good to me. I've worked really hard. I've had success in my businesses, more success in my business than I have in my hunting career, but that's okay. And I want to be humble and be thankful for the gifts that I've been given and the ability to go out and enjoy nature. And more than anything, I want to shoot a bow. I want to bow hunt. So that was something that came out when I started writing my blog. And then actually this year at the ATA, the Archery Trade Association show, is where the idea of Humble Bow Hunter came from.
Did it really?
It did. It hit me while I was there, because you've been there. There's so many people there that are only looking to self-promote. We want to get a pro staff deal, or what will certain company give us for free? And that's not what this industry is about, or it shouldn't be. And I got to thinking about it. Okay, I want to develop a platform where I can bring people in that I really trust, that I know have good hearts, that they're in this for the right reason. So I reached out to several people that I knew, half through social media, the other half that I knew personally, and said, guys, here's what I want to do. I want to start a site that's all about positive experiences in hunting. You don't have to show a picture of your harvest. If you never put a picture of a dead deer on there, I don't care. I don't care how often you write. I want you to share recipes that you use for wild game, family recipes, hunting stories, just life lessons that you think that may help somebody that's in a bad situation or having a bad day, just to lighten their mood a little bit. And I've been really, really lucky to have some really good friends on this. You had mentioned Casey and Hope. Hutch has a little Hope. They are absolutely amazing people.
Yeah, they are.
And even though we are not related, I will claim them as family any day.
I would too.
Yeah, they're super amazing. I've got a lady, a mother, and a hunter from Canada on the team, Holly Heyer. She's a personal trainer. So we're working on doing some fitness routines, some workouts on there to kind of keep people motivated. Melissa Blair, she's with an organization called Wildlife Women of Kentucky.
Yeah, she's going to be on the show right after you.
Oh, you'll love Melissa. She is absolutely one of my best friends. She is a pure soul. She's just one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And she's got a great life story to tell. This girl has no quit in her. She's just phenomenal. So there's another married couple on the team, Brian and Brenda McFadden. I actually met Brian on my way to yell at him, Bruce. I was very irate with this man that I'd never met. I'd gone to a 3D archery tournament. It poured rain all weekend. The very last target was a turkey. It was about 25 yards away. I make a reasonably decent shot a 10 on it, so I wasn't terribly mad. I go to pull my arrow. As I'm walking back the course, something catches the toe of my boot. The course had been set up. You had to cross a stomped down woven wire fence. I didn't see it on the way up, and I definitely didn't see it on the way down. So the toe of my boot catches. I go end over end into a small creek, completely soaked, covered in mud. The course wasn't properly marked, so I'd walked for hours trying to find targets. So I was just upset, having a bad day. So as I get closer to the clubhouse, I see this fella and one of his friends who I've now become friends with. They're sitting on a coffee table. Well, I'm going to give this guy a piece of my mind. You need to learn how to mark a course. As I get closer, Bruce, I can hear him start laughing. The closer I get, the more I start laughing because I realize how ridiculous I look. I look like Pigpen. I'm just completely covered in mud. And as soon as I talked to that guy, I realized he is somebody that I have to associate with because he's just a great human being. Brian McFadden, he's the president of a club here in Central Kentucky called Christian Archers of Kentucky. A really good Christian man. His wife is a super strong Christian. So they bring another side. Brian loves to hunt as well as Brenda. She doesn't take archery as seriously as Brian. He loves to shoot all the time. He's like me. He shoots every day. So she incorporates the aspect of, yeah, I like archery. I like hunting. But here's what I have to deal with a husband that's addicted. So I've got a really good team of people to share life stories and encourage people. And that's really what the goal is going forward is I just want to be a place where people can come. If you want to read something just to make your day better, realize that hunting isn't about how many deer you kill or how big they are, any of that. Just a place for the community to come together without jealousy and people hating on you.
So can somebody find you on the web?
The new site is humblebowhunter.com. We also have an Instagram account at humblebowhunter. The Facebook page, I'm more of an Instagram guy. I think most of the people on our team are. The website has links to all our personal Instagrams, but there is a Facebook page. It's humblebowhunter.com spelled out. But really, if somebody wants to get a hold of the website, you can subscribe to the blog so you'll get updates when new stuff's posted. Like I said, it also has all our personal links. So if somebody writes a story and you want to know more about it, you're more than welcome to feel free to reach out and discuss that topic with the author.
That's great. A lot of people talk about all the things that you have, but talking to Casey and Hope about what you get going, Bo, it seems like you've got to head in the right direction. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I'm just happy to have you on to meet you and to talk about Humble Bow Hunter and people that you have, and also find out how you're shooting with your shoulder. What's that look like now?
That's the one aspect that I should have been more focused on years ago was the actual physical limitations I had when I was preparing for that hunt. I work out, I won't say every single solitary day, but 6 out of 7 days I work out and I primarily focus on building my shoulders just for archery. And most nights I shoot 50 to 100 arrows every single night. So, I'm getting plenty of work done there, but I think my injury came from me not being prepared for what I was trying to do, my own limitations. So now I really take that into consideration and try to build myself, one, so I'll have more stamina when I'm in the woods. Right now I'm training I'm going to go out and shoot the Total Archery Challenge in Salt Lake this year.
Are you really?
Yep. So the terrain, being a Western hunter, I haven't gotten to experience that.
Get on your roof and start slinging arrows.
That is actually part of my plan. So, just preparing myself physically for that. I've been doing a lot of elevation training on a treadmill. I raise it up, use a weighted backpack, use a breathing restrictor mask to get used to elevation.
That'll help. It'll help.
Yeah. I just want to be in peak physical shape for anything that I do now.
I'll tell you what, here's what you do. Are you going to drive to Salt Lake City?
No, I'm flying out.
Oh, I was going to say, if you're driving, come by here and we'll do the Manitou Incline. It's only a mile. That's all it is.
What's the elevation?
It goes up 2,000 feet in elevation and it's over 40 degrees. So just Google Manitou Incline, and the Olympic athletes that they train on that.
Mm-hmm.
World-class people train on it. I've done it once. I did it. I made a deal when I got my hip replaced that in 12 weeks, so 3 months after my surgery, I would climb the incline. And I did it.
Nice.
That was absolutely nuts because from the top, you can see the bottom. That's how steep it is.
I was actually once described as obsessive.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, but when I set my mind to a goal, I want to crush it. I want to be the absolute best at anything I try. And I'm not. I've never been great at anything. I'm fair to middling at most things, but I like to think that if I have a goal in mind, nobody's going to outwork me to reach that goal. So how long ago was your hip replacement?
2016.
Oh, so really recent.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, that was pretty nuts. So I made the deal with this doctor, and he's a world-class doctor. His wall of fame, the first time I went to see him, I went, holy fright. Because my adopted son, he's a parts guy. He sells screws and plates and stuff for orthopedic surgeons.
Okay.
So he sells parts, real expensive titanium screws and stuff. So he said, you have to go see Dr. Myers. And he happened to live in Colorado Springs. He said, it's going to take you 6 months just to see him, another 6 months to get scheduled for surgery. But the best guy to work on me, and knowing the things that I do and will continue to do. So I did that. So I saw him and I said, what's it going to take to get on the wall? And he kind of thought about it. And I said, okay, here's what I'll do. 12 weeks, I'll climb the incline. And he just looked at me and goes, that'll do it. And so that's how that worked out. But anyway, that gets to goals and being focused. And that's why I brought it up here on the show, because it's so important to do the things that you're doing, because you decided, one, I'm going to lose 70 pounds. Not the smartest way to do it in 100 some odd days, but you did it. What are you shooting your bow now at? What poundage?
My hunting bows I do at 70, and my target bows are 54.
Yeah. Because I learned with kinetic energy, okay, speed's important. I get that.
Right.
But you don't need all the poundage to get you kinetic energy. It's the weight forward of your broadhead and all those other calculations. You don't have to shoot 70 pounds anymore.
Right.
And you probably get less torque and everything. And I don't know if you use a muscle pull release or what kind of release you use.
A thumb release.
Okay.
But I shoot it very similar to a back tension. Yeah, I try to work the shot. Now, the weight at this point doesn't bother me, just because I have spent the last 2 solid years trying to build that back up, and I do it every day. So for me, I'm not terribly concerned with another catastrophic injury at this point. I'm still relatively young, even though the gray in my beard seems to show otherwise.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, as you do get older, you're not going to lose anything. And I've known guys that I used to shoot 70 pounds. And then as I get older, I kept just dropping it.
Mm-hmm. I've got some friends that I shoot with occasionally that they started in 3D archery when it was 90-pound bows with no speed limits and that kind of thing. You're just asking for trouble. You're asking to destroy yourself. And for me, for what I primarily hunt here, whitetail deer.
30 pounds at 20 yards, it'll kill them.
Right. They're a pretty fragile animal, all things considered.
Very much so.
So I don't need 70 pounds for that. But I'm at an advantage because of my draw length. I'm a pretty big boy, but my draw length is 31.25. I gained some extra speed there.
Yeah.
Which is why I typically, with the weight of my indoor arrows, I like to stay about 54 pounds. That will keep me under the ASA speed limit for 3D archery.
What are you shooting on your hunting bow? What's your setup now?
I have bounced back and forth over the last few years. I've been completely in love with the carbon riser bows from Hoyt. Last year, I harvested my deer with an RX1 Ultra, the 34-inch axle bow. Actually, the Cam Haynes edition. Hoyt sent that to me, so that's pretty cool. But this year, for hunting setup, I'm going to be running the new Traverse. It's 70 pounds, 31.25.
And what kind of release? Who makes you release?
It's actually a Knock to It by my buddy John Dudley from Carter. I've tried everything in the world. There is nothing that fits me better than that release.
How about your arrows and your broadhead?
Easton, as far as arrows, I haven't decided this year if I'm going to run 4mm Axis or 5mm FMJs out of my hunting setup. I've got to do
go to FMJs.
I haven't done any testing on the new T64.
And these are free shout outs for these companies, folks. We're just talking.
Yeah, but if Easton wants to send me a couple dozen arrows, I'm not going to complain. But the new T64s look really, really interesting to get like we talked about the FOC, to get that where it needs to be. As far as broadheads, Thorn broadheads, it's a mechanical broadhead that's completely self-contained.
Why mechanical? I've never been a mechanical hunter, so I have to ask the question.
After I've tested several, I grew up shooting fixed blades, but now just the field tip accuracy that they can get with some of these broadheads, the Thorns, I know when I set my hunting bows up with field tips, I can screw in a Thorn broadhead and I can shoot it at 100 yards and it will hit exactly where I want it to hit.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, the science and technology behind it now is just
100 yards and you're worried about knocking knocks off, right?
Right. So we talked about my indoor range at 20 yards there. My backyard is the 3D range. In the front yard, I have it set up. I could probably shoot 150, 200 yards in the front yard, but I max it out at 100. And in the summertime, I practice every single solitary day at 100 yards.
No, are you stacking them at 100?
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say I can keep them in a 5-inch group for half a dozen arrows.
So where do you have to be careful of shooting the same target? At what range?
Obviously indoor. I would never do it. I actually just shot my personal record indoor or night before last on a Vegas face, 324X. With indoor, you're shooting at something the size of a penny at 20 yards, and you're cramming an arrow that's half that diameter into it. You don't want to risk it. But I try not to, on 3D stuff, I'll risk it at 30 yards. Anything closer than that, I'm just going to shoot for an upper 12 or go for a different target. But what's amazing with the longer distance practice for me, and especially, when spring hits, I'm going to go back out. I'm going to be incredibly sloppy. If I can keep it on an 18-inch block at 100 yards, I'm going to be really, really happy. But by the end of summer, I want to be able to have it in that 5 or 6-inch group at 100 yards, because as soon as you drop back to 20 yards, you are right on top of it. It's a chip shot once you get used to shooting longer distances.
Now, do you shoot in beam fields or open territory at 100 yards, but you shoot a deer at 100 yards?
No, absolutely not. I like the idea of no more than half of what I practice. So I've got pins set to 50. Now, I'm not saying that if a Pope and Young walks out at 51 yards, that I'm not going to take that shot. But realistically, anything over 40, I'm going to just, for ethical purposes, I'm going to be a little iffy on taking that shot.
Yeah, my crossbow, I have it set up at 52, and I can shoot at 80 yards all day long.
Right.
But still at 52. And my other bow, when I was shooting compound, I had 4 pins, so it was a 40-yard pin. I shot a bull at 44 yards.
That's a long shot on an elk, from what I understand about Western hunting.
It is, but it isn't. I know guys that will shoot a lot further than that, but that's my own 8-inch on the elk, because their lung is the size of a basketball, if you want to think about it that way. So you've got a lot of room, and terrain up, down, wind sometimes, but that was just mine. And my first bow, I never shot over 30 yards. I think it was a 55-pound, 50% let off. Mm-hmm. My first whitetail was at probably 26. It was under 30 yards, my first whitetail. And I shot him out of a pine tree. No stand or anything. I just climbed up into a white pine, and he came right underneath me. I could have dropped on him like a cat, but he just walked out and perfect broadside shot. And he never knew I was there. It was kind of fun. It was ninja, pure ninja style.
Which sometime when you and I have more time to talk personally, I'll tell you another part of the story about that hog hunt, about somebody jumping out of a tree. I think you'll enjoy that. Another thing I think that's really helped my shooting recently, I met a guy at a trade show, Titanium Archery Products, selling stabilizers. What kind of science can there possibly be in a stabilizer? You put weight on it, you figure out how long you want it, it makes your shot steady. I'd run target bars on my target stuff, short bars, even.
He's been on the show. Tap has been on the show, by the way. Sam
is insanely intelligent.
Oh,
I don't like to think of myself as a terribly bright guy, but I just feel so incredibly stupid talking to him. The science behind it is really amazing. But I met him at a trade show, and he said, shoot my product. So we went to the shooting lane. I had my bows there for display purposes, took all my junk off of it, put his stuff on. And my first shot, Bruce, I knew this guy's onto something. The noise reduction, the hand shock reduction of these products. And he actually just introduced a new line for target archery, the hybrid series. So it's part titanium and it's part carbon fiber. So it really cuts the weight down. That has been absolutely amazing. I'm not the best target archer. A 300 is a very rare thing for me. I discovered target archery in the fall of 2016, right after I got started back. I went into a bow shop and was talking to the guy after a day in the woods. And he said, do you shoot target archery? I mean, I shoot at a target. What's target archery? And he takes me into the back and he shows me they've got a 20-yard indoor range with Vegas set up. Now, I could hit that little thing 30 times in a row, sure. And that was a very humbling experience. Very humbling. I'm in my office now. I still have that target. My first Vegas face was a 276. So it was not a pleasant experience, but I knew it was something that as soon as I did it, I realized this will make you a better hunter. And so as I took the deep dive down the rabbit hole of target archery, that's when I figured out about stabilization and side stabilizers and letting your equipment do most of the work. But then when I met Sam and the guys at TAP and tried that product, I knew, okay, this is a totally different level. So since September of 2016, when I started target archery, I've shot 4 300s. Not great. 3 of them have been since Christmas.
Wow.
The last 3 have been with TAP stabilizers, and the last 2 have been with the new target stabilizers.
Now, can you use a glove? Are gloves allowed?
I think so, yeah. I never have, so I've never really looked into the rule book.
So here's a glove and Pro X handgun. And he sent me one, and he was on the USA. He qualified for the UST. He never went to the Olympics, but anyway,
Okay.
he qualified. He's out of Utah. And then he started talking about torque and how that glove helps with torque. And I got lost. He's kind of like Sam. I just get lost.
Right.
But Shooting Edge or Shooter's Edge is the name of it. So check that out. We're giving a lot of free shout outs today, but that's
Exactly.
That's just the way it is, folks. And nothing that we can say. That's just the way it is. And that's what we're doing today.
And also, if any of these companies, again, want to send me free stuff, I will gladly take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's for sure.
Target bows get expensive.
Anyway, having said that, we talked about Humble Bow Hunters. We talked about your team. We talked about the journey. And we've got just a couple of minutes to wrap up. So you shared a little bit about the mission of Humble Bow Hunter. Let's talk about what you think the future holds.
I've never really planned anything in my entire life. I've just been one of those guys that I work really hard and I've gotten lucky quite a bit. And I really think that Humble Bow Hunter, I want it to take that same approach. I want it to be a bunch of really good people sharing ideas, growing a community, and it will become what it's going to become. I don't think that it will ever be an online magazine or as well known as you are in the industry, that kind of thing. But I just want it to be something that we as a team use as therapy, and it helps other people. So I have no major goals for this other than just to help people.
That's pretty good in and of itself. That simple thing. You said something about going through a day and not complaining. And I read something by Darius Forex, and he said gratitude. How many times, and I'll raise my hand again on this one, how many times, I'm not grateful for all the sunrises and sunsets I've been able to see and the places I've gone and the people I've met. And that alone, it's like, oh my goodness. And sometimes I'm not grateful. And I think if I would just go, wait a minute, hey, give it a rest. Your quiver's one full, your kids, and you got a lot to be grateful for. So that's kind of what I'm trying to work on. Humility, sometimes, I get off, but I've never been a bag of chips and all that, or I wouldn't be able to do what I did with Whitetail Rendezvous because they see that right away and it's just not going to work.
Right. I think hopefully that people will just share it, kind of spread that positivity. If it never makes me a cent, I'm okay with that. It probably never will. I have been very fortunate in my career and I love what I do, which makes it even better. So this is just a hobby that has turned into a passion, the helping people and the archery, because I have been fortunate and I'm not ashamed to admit that I've worked really hard to get where I'm at, but I'm also not ashamed to say that I can do better as a person, as a human being. I can love harder. I can dig deeper. I can try harder. And I just want other people to do that. So life is really not as bad as you think it is. One of my blogs, I write about my dad and I took another trip pretty recently to Texas. The first morning, he sees 13 hogs. He takes a picture of them with his cell phone. Doesn't shoot one. He just takes a picture of them. Of course, we've paid money to go down there and hunt. I didn't see or smell or hear a hog for 4 solid days.
Oh, my goodness.
Texas. And I was pretty upset on the ride home that I didn't harvest anything. But on the website, there's a blog called The Wrinkles Show You've Laughed. And my dad says something that's absolutely prophetic and not a very profound man. I love him absolutely to death, but it was just very out of character for him. And the 3 sentences he said to me really made me realize, it's not about whether I killed a hog or not, or whether I paid for his hunt and he took a picture of a hog that I can take home and eat. So I think that's what really makes me think it's the memories that were made.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, with the trophies. Yeah, I've got some antlers on my wall. I've got a turkey tail. Fan. I'm okay with that. But really, it's the journey I've taken with my friends that have gone hunting with me, or the lessons I've learned as a solo hunter. 99% of the time, I hunt completely alone. So being able to share that aspect and share my memories and positivity is really all I'm going for.
And with that, folks, we're going to end this session with Bo Hutchison of Humble Bow Hunter. And Bo, it's been great. It won't be the last time because I look forward to interviewing all your team in the months ahead. So let's get that set up. I know we got Melissa coming up pretty quick here, but I want over the next 6 months to make sure we've got your whole team on the show.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.